Welcome to our first lesson of Introduction to Sewing. Before we start any kind of tutorial, I want to go over a few things. Make sure your work area is conducive to your needs. You want to have your machine on the right side of the table because the left side will be where all your work will lay out. You also want to have a trash can. In my case, I like to have it on my right. Make sure you have a good chair, or if you don't have a good chair and your back is going to start hurting, set yourself a timer to get up and move around every so many minutes. Otherwise, your back's going to hurt and you're going to be miserable. You're not going to enjoy sewing. Make sure you have good lighting. Again, you need to make this experience as pleasant as possible. So let's talk about some supplies that you need. Your sewing machine. This is mine. Every sewing machine is different, but they basically are the same. They just have different features, just like cars. There are many different kinds of cars, but they basically have the same concept, how they operate. So the sewing machine, this is your primary component. You have your power cord, and then you have your pedal, okay? As you learn how to sew, you will learn how to manipulate that pedal, how to go really, really slow and gentle, and how to go really fast and hard. So get used to it. I do it barefooted, but whatever you want to do, put your heel on the floor and your tip of the toes on the pedal and push it. I've seen some people that have their foot suspended. It makes it very hard. So just whatever works for you, figure out how it's best. All right, so your sewing machine, you need to know how to thread it correctly. And a lot of them will have either numbered steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, or it will have instructions. But basically, your thread will either be on this peg or on a vertical peg, okay? You put your thread there, then it goes through a loop somewhere at the back, like mine, and then it comes down to here, underneath this guy, and then it goes back up, and it catches, I don't know if you can see, it catches in that guy. There's a hole in there. I don't think you can see it. Yep, there's a hole right there. But if you go behind this little notch, it'll put your string, your thread in the hole. All right, then you come back down, and different machines have different features. Mine only has this right here. So you put your thread behind that, and then you put your thread through the needle. Some of you have a threading device. It's really easy to use. Anyway, if you need to remove your needle, there will always be some sort of a screw over here. Your needle will have a groove in the front and a flat side on the back. Or if your machine gets threaded from right to left, then your groove will be on your right and your flat side will be on your left. Your presser foot, this is just a universal presser foot that's used for all different kinds of jobs. But there is a whole collection of them that you can do all kinds of things. You can do hems, you can do piping, you can do all kinds of zippers, all kinds of different kind of feet. This is your bobbin right here. And your bobbin gets wound right there. Before you thread your thread, you use this to loop around one of these guys, and then you come over here, you push it to the right, and it starts, when you push the pedal, it starts to engage it, and it spools the thread on your bobbin. Most machines, I would say 99.9% of machines, the thread in the bobbin goes in this direction, not in this direction. If you put it in the wrong way, it will break your thread. Also, if your thread up here is not threaded correctly, it will not sew right, it will break your thread, it will loop underneath. So anyway, you put this in here. I'm trying to do this one-handed. And then there are some grooves right there. And you need to catch the thread in that groove. In my case, then you go behind here and you're ready to go. Every machine is different. So again, you can do YouTube tutorials to see how your machine works, or you can get your owner's manual. Once your top thread is threaded and your bottom bobbin is ready to go, you turn the hand wheel right here, always towards you, never away from you. If you turn it away from you, it will break your thread. Okay? So you grab the top thread with your hand. The bottom thread is right here. And you turn it until it catches. You see how it caught the bottom thread? That's the bottom thread. Now you take both of them and you put them behind your foot. Close your lid. Okay. And you are ready to sew. So this is your machine. Make sure you consult your owner's manual or look at the YouTube videos. You have thread tension. If your thread is too loose, you'll have loops on the bottom of your fabric. If your thread is too tight, it will be very tight on the front. This is, in my case, the length of a stitch. What I'm saying is a stitch can be like this or it can be like this. Okay, that's the length of the stitch. This here is the width of the stitch. So when you go to do zigzag, you can have this or you can have this. Okay, this is important because when you go to do your different features, these are just some of my features, and then I've got this here with all different kinds of stitch patterns that you can do. Play with it. See what length and what width works best with whichever feature you want to use. So get a lot of scrap fabric, go to Goodwill, get old clothes, tear them apart, and use that to learn your machine very well. One thing I want to tell you, when you take this thread out for whatever reason, to change it or bunched up or whatever, when you take that out, don't just pull it from here, because when you do, the fuzzy on the thread, and you can see there is some fuzzy stuff on the thread. You see those little hairs? Those will all get caught in those plates, in those tension plates in here, and then you got a mess, you got a matted mess in there. So the best way to do it is clip it right here, like that, and then just pull it out from down here, okay? So that's two reasons why you don't want to just yank it from the top. One is because you don't want to gunk up your machine with a lot of bad fuzz, and the other one is because you don't want to misalign these tension plates. This is my reverse button, and we will talk about that when you sew. Sometimes you have to go in reverse just to reinforce the beginning and the end of a stitch. So that's your machine. You're going to need a good pair of scissors, a fabric pencil, preferably one that you can wash. This is to measure when you do, let's say you're going to do a hem and you want to do it at exactly 2 inches. So you're going to bring this thing down and you're going to keep measuring. We'll work with that later. This is your best friend right here, the seam ripper, and mine is well worn. This is what you clip your tails with. I call them mustaches. I never want to see tails at the end, and at the beginning or the end of your seams. Your work needs to always be very clean. Now, some machines have this gizmo here. You see that? That is a blade, and look what it does. Okay, you see it? I put the thread over it, and it cuts the thread. So you sew, you cut your tail. You get to the end, you cut your tail. Don't ever leave any tails or any mustaches hanging out. It makes your work look sloppy, and I don't like it. Or you can use this guy. You will need clips and pins. Most people use pins, but if you work with something like satin and you don't want to poke holes in it, use clips to hold your pieces together. And then this guy here is just a Chinese chopstick from a Chinese restaurant. I use it to turn corners. You don't want to use your scissors because that can poke through your corners, and that's not something you want to do. So this was our first page. Now what we're going to do is, I want to tell you some things about bobbins. In your sewing machine, you will have some sort of a storage. And here's where you have, this is a buttonhole maker. You'll have extra bobbins. Bobbins are different sizes and different styles. Make sure you get the ones for your machine. You can't just get any kind, okay? And this whole thing on most machines slides right out. I don't know if I can do it with one hand. Okay. It slides right out. And the reason you want to do that is if you're working on a pair of pants or a sleeve, you want to slide it right over this, and then you can sew just fine. Whereas if you have this guy on there, you can only sew flat. So that's a good feature to remember. You need to know about different kinds of needles, because there's needles for thick fabric, there's needles for thin fabric, there's needles for knit. So be mindful of that. And there's different kinds of thread also, depending on the project you're working on. As you can see, I was told to not use Coats and Clark's thread because it has many fibers and it will gunk up in there and in here, all those little fibers. I was also told that if you're going to make anything that you're going to heat up in a microwave, like a bowl cover or a heating pad, you want to use 100% cotton. All right, so let's talk about stitches. I will give you one of these swatches, and I would like for you to test out all your stitches on your machine. Like I said, mine are that many. It's good for you to know what you have. Look at this example. This student did some of her stitches and made her notes. And look at here, we accidentally tripped over the power cord and the power went out. And look at the notes she said, power cut, reset to 0. So her pattern stopped because the power was out. That's pretty cool, huh? Okay, so this is the stitches, and now let's move along to our project. Today we're going to make a hot pad that you can put your casserole on. One last thing I wanted to tell you. Anytime your sewing machine is turned on, you better have your iron on and your ironing pad, because every seam you make, you want to iron it. If you don't iron it, it's not going to lay right, it's not going to do right. Then you move it on to your next step and things are just not going to be right. So iron everything as you go. So anyway, this is our heat pad, hot pad actually, and this is the back of it. Now I got to tell you a couple of things about this. For the pattern, most people do like a diamond pattern, like a crisscross. I decided to do hearts. So what I did was I went on the internet, I printed me a heart, cut it out, put it there, pinned it in place, and I just sewed all the way around it. Move to the next one, move to the next one. You can do whatever pattern you like. Also, my seam on the outside is not very pretty. So I decided to put some decorative over the top of it to kind of distract from my poor sewing. Okay? These are just some ideas. Now, how do you make this hot pot pad, if I can say that 3 times fast? You get a piece of pretty fabric, and you get another piece of fabric. In my case, I decided to go with a plain fabric, and you put them face to face, pretty side to pretty side. Okay? Then you get this thermal interfacing, and it needs to be thermal if you don't want it to burn your table when you put a hot casserole on it. And then what you will do, you will take your pen and you will mark just outside of your hot pad. But you want to not sew, and you're going to sew all the way around. Okay? So you're going to start here and you're going to sew all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, and you're going to stop here. You're not going to sew here, because what we're going to do is turn it inside out through that hole. Before we turn it inside out, if you're more comfortable with pinning your stuff down and then sewing, fine, you can do that. Some people just go ahead and sew. I recommend that you pin everything down along the lines that you're going to sew. You pin here, 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 and remove this, and then sew where you marked, okay? After you're done sewing where you marked, now you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut off all the excess fabric. you're going to leave only a 1/2 inch all the way around. What I'm saying is, if your seam is here, I need somebody to hold my camera. If your seam is here, so this is how you join your two pieces together, you will cut about here, okay? So you want to leave about a 1/2 inch. Then when you're done with that, you're going to clip the corners just a little bit, not all the way to the seam, but just a little bit, because you don't want a bulky material in the corner. It's going to make it real hard to turn it inside out. Then you turn it inside out. So this is sewn. You've clipped your corners. You cut off all the excess fabric. Now you're going to use this hole. You stick your hand in it, turn it inside out, and you use this guide to push out all the corners real good. And then you iron it. Yes, ma'am. You always iron it. Then you fit this guy inside. Now, chances are that it might be a little too big. Take it out, trim it down. Once you're done with that, then what you're going to do, now you have this opening here, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to do your top stitch, the one that I wasn't very proud of. But the reason I did that is because I needed to close where I left that open. So I went all the way around, really close to the edge. If you decide to do a round corner, go really slow, okay? And you go all the way around. Look how terrible I did there. You see that? That's just terrible. Anyway, so you go all the way around, you press it again, and your pad is finished, unless you want to do some sort of stitching on top. I had a lady that did honeycomb. I had a lady that did diamonds. You can do squares. There's a number of things you can do. Take a look at this, for example. These are all different patterns that you can do to make it look real pretty. And again, iron, iron, iron. I can never tell you enough. You need to iron, otherwise your project will not look very good. This here, I tried something that I won't tell you. When you sew, and we're going to talk about this in the next lesson, when you sew two pieces together, like we're going to do here, for example, we're going to start here, and we're going to sew in this direction, okay? When you start sewing here, you want to reinforce this. So you're going to go forward 3 or 4 steps, then you're going to push your reverse button on your machine and go back, and then keep going. When you get to the other end, coming from the other direction, you're going to come here. When you get here, you're going to reverse a few steps and go forward. You're reinforcing beginning and ending, because when you stick your hand in it, you don't want this guy to come undone, okay? Now, in this case, I started my heart right here, went all the way around, and I ended here, and I didn't want to have that double backup stitching. So what I did was I pulled my thread to the back of the fabric, and I manually tied a knot. It doesn't look very pretty. You do that on very fine fabrics that you don't want to have reverse. That's what the reverse would look like. So I don't know which looks worse, this one or this one. But anyway, this is our lesson for today. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me.